All right, family, welcome to another episode of Mind of a Genius. And we're back again. It's been a very, very long time coming. We took a little break because of Social Fest, and just to allow us to be able to uh, put our thoughts together, get really, really impactful guests on here, which could shake mountains, I would say. But I'm very, very excited because we're kicking off strong. We're kicking off a new season really, really strong, and today I have none other than my good friend Armando Nava Jr., who is going to be joining us here. I am super, super excited. Me and Armando had a brief conversation a few weeks ago prior to Social Fest. And, after that conversation, I left super inspired, right? And so for me, like I was telling you earlier, Armando, everyone that I have on here, I consider a genius, right? So the opportunity to talk to people that I respect, people that I have a lot of love for, means everything to me. So Armando, thank you so much for saying yes to doing this.
Or
He drove in from Dallas last night, came in at 1 a.m. and you're here, talking to me. And so first of all, thank you. God bless you so much for saying yes. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I want to really dive right into it, right? We've had a very good conversations, and I've gotten to know you a little bit, right? But I want my viewers and I want everyone watching to understand the kind of man you are. Armando, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you started from, and where you're at right now.
well, I actually was born and raised here in McAllen, Texas. My wife and I would currently reside in Dallas, but my home roots are here. So I have a love for the RGV. I grew up in a very, I would say, kind of broken household, right? Didn't really have mom and dad around. Mom was always working. She was always in the real estate field, which, hence why.
Wow.
So my mom and my grandparents are also in the real estate field. My entire family. All right.
It's generational.
It's generational. It's something that's always been passed on. Even my grandma, I still remember her telling me, "Mijo, compra terreno, like buy land, buy crop." And I'm like 5 years old, and I'm like,
5 years old.
like, dang, I should have taken her advice at 5 years old. I can only imagine the value it would have gone to. But yeah, growing up here, brother, obviously I saw the valley, for many years and where it's progressed, where it's headed to. And in 2015, I decided to join the Marine Corps. That's really where well, to kind of backtrack, around senior year of high school, I was going to McAllen Memorial.
Mustangs?
Mustangs, let's go Mustangs. And truthfully, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to go to college, right? I was like, well, maybe I might go to college or I might do this. I was still serving at the time. I was working at Cheddar's here. So I was a server. And I was like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But there was a gentleman, which I'm going to call him Bill. All right.
Okay.
I was actually dating his daughter, and he was a very wealthy man, very well-respected man here in the RGV. And there was this one moment when I was at his house. He had a very beautiful house in McAllen, very gorgeous custom home. I'd never seen this level of wealth, especially being in the RGV.
Wow.
And he was a very quiet man, very hardworking man. Like, he would be home late at night. He would leave at 4 a.m. Once again, I was dating his daughter, so I would be spending the night there and stuff like that. I don't know if they knew I was spending the night, but it's just crazy. No, that's right. But this one time, we're watching a movie. I still remember it. We were watching, I believe it was Iron Man or something like that. And we were in the living room on the couch. And he comes through the garage door. It's kind of like a side entry. And I hear him corner my ear. And my girlfriend at the time is like, oh, don't mind him. He's just getting back from work. He's tired. And I could hear all this muffling that's happening in the kitchen on the right wing of where we're sitting at. And I'm trying to concentrate on the movie. And all I hear is him just like moving stuff around. Right. And then he opens the fridge. He grabs this like plate of chicken breast. This guy was shredded, by the way. This guy tatted up, shredded dude, like freaking had a physique of a Greek, mythological character, right? And he looks at me, and he's kind of like over the bar area, and he's looking right at me, and he's just chewing on the chicken breast, like just looking directly at my eyes.
Yes.
And I look at my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, why is your dad staring at me? And she's like, just don't mind him. Bill's like that. Sometimes he's. And he puts down the chicken breast and he's like, Armando, what the heck are you gonna do with your life? And I'm saying it PG, but
Yeah.
he said it very firmly.
Yeah.
And I had never heard him like speak directly to me like that before. And so like I was kind of a little shooken up and I'm like, turn down the volume. I look at my ex-girlfriend and I'm like, why is your dad? And I'm like, well, Bill, I'm gonna, go to college and this and that. I'm probably gonna figure something out. And he's like, dude, no, you're not. Like, you've been here every single day. You're eating my food. You don't really do much. You're working at Cheddar's. You haven't even applied to college. Like, what the heck are you gonna do with your life, man?
Wow.
And I was like, well, Bill, I'm gonna figure it out. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. And I stood up and, I kind of like try to like man up to him. And I'm 17 years old, 18, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you need to sharpen up. You need to join the military. You need to join the Marine Corps. And I said, Bill, you're crazy. I am not gonna join the Marine Corps. I don't want to die. And he's like, and I said, you know what? I'm out of here. So my ex-girlfriend's like, no, where are you going? And I'm like walking out. And as I'm walking out through the front door, he says something that I will never forget. That moment, I went to the recruiting station to go sign up for the Marines. He said, well, you would have never made it anyways. And when he said that, something lit inside of me.
Wow.
A fire lit inside of me. And I went straight to the Marine Corps recruiting station and I signed up for the Marines. I said, I'm going to go do this. And little did I know he had an intentional reason why he did that. He knew that there was something inside of me that, I mean, like I said, not having a father around, I really think he knew that. And so he needed to kind of, wake me up.
Be firm with you.
Be firm with me, direct. No child's play, just straight up. And I think a lot of men need that.
I agree.
So yeah. So I joined the Marine Corps, did all that.
Wow.
And then the story goes on from there. But you tell me how.
What a great story. And so at that moment, at any point in time, did you feel like what was that moment where you were like, this is what I have to do? Because I mean, from that one conversation of him telling you to join the Marine Corps, you could have always said, you know what, I'm not interested in this. I'll do something else, but I'll do something with my life. Why that specific route?
Why the Marine Corps and kind of why I decided to embark on it was because all my life, I was always told that I couldn't do something. And in that moment, I think it had all compiled up together. And I had believed all these lies throughout the years. Growing up as a kid, I was a former very overweight, chubby kid. People would tell me, you're never gonna lose weight. You're a fat kid for life. Wow, I was made fun of in middle school for being overweight. I was over 200 pounds at 13 years old. And I feel like that moment, it kind of really struck me to the core. And I said, no, I am going to prove the naysayers wrong. And most importantly, I'm going to prove myself, right? There's this two voices inside that were like, you know what? Like, you can't do it. And then there was that voice, you can. And so I decided to go and embark on that. Hey, I'm going to do this to prove the naysayers wrong and to prove myself. So I would say, and the Marine Corps is one of the hardest branches. I didn't want to join the Air Force. I don't want to join the Navy. Not, shout out to all my other military personnel. They're awesome. But I wanted to join the best of the best. I wanted to be the few, the proud, the Marines. That's what we stand for. And it's played in all areas of my life, which we can dive into that.
Yeah. And so fast forward joining the Marine Corps, how was that like?
Marine Corps, man, going through boot camp, I went to MCRD San Diego. It was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call because it made me realize how soft I was, how lazy, how lethargic, how society and the world basically made me a consumer, right? A constant consumer, a constant just procrastinating, non-disciplined, non-structured individual. And then the Marine Corps takes all that, rips it out of you, like pulls it, yanks it out of you to the point where like you become this entirely new person by the end of that 3-month journey. And when you earn that title Marine, it's a title that can never be taken away. And a lot of Marines understand how proud it is to be given the title Marine.
Yeah.
And how that can never be stripped away. And so once you achieve that status of becoming Marine, right, what else can you accomplish in life? It's kind of, you set the bar high and you're just like, you know what, I can do more. So, yeah.
Do you think a lot of young men need to go through that, and why?
Yes, I believe in today's generation, we need more men to step up and go into the military, even if it's just for 4 years, to really sharpen up their tools. Because the reality of it is that we're losing good men. I think men are slowly starting to become a mushy, non just disciplined individuals that are swayed away. And if we don't have men in society, society will crumble. We need men. We need leaders. We need fathers in society. We need people who stand up. And I truly believe the military is a great way to start that journey. You know, at 18 years old, especially because you're fresh out of high school, it's a great way to really get yourself, you know, structured
Yeah.
for the next 10, 20 years. Because everything I learned in the Marine Corps, I'm still applying to this day that's made me successful in these other endeavors, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I fully agree. I think discipline is at the core of it, right? I remember back in the day, I was, the best I could say I joined, not the Marine Corps, but I joined the cadet, and in Ghana, the cadet is equivalent to the ROTC, and it wasn't easy. I'll tell you that. Uh, it was almost borderline abuse. See, in my perspective. But what it does for you is that discipline. You have to wake up at 6 a.m. at a certain time, make sure you're there, training, jogging, doing a certain number of push-ups. If you're not able to do those push-ups, they're hitting you left and right? So those are some of the experiences. And even though I think most men don't have to go through that exact training, I think to some degree structure is important, right? So and I think
Absolutely.
that's what the Marine Corps gives you. So I want to kind of move a little bit further, right? Nava the Beast.
Yes.
Nava the Beast. A lot of people know you as Nava the Beast because when you went into the Marines, you did something unorthodox. You did something different. What did you do, and how did you gain the name and reputation Nava the Beast?
Well, 2016, I had graduated the Marine Corps, and we're gonna go back to Bill,
Yeah.
right? So I hadn't heard from Bill in a while. I had joined the Marines, I graduated. I was really excited to see him afterwards at my graduation, but he wasn't there. But I got a call. This was during my 10-day leave period before I went out to MCT, which is Marine Corps Combat Training, in California. But he calls me randomly, and I'm in California, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm outside." It was random. It was like at 6 a.m. and I was at the dorms with my ex-girlfriend because I had a couple days before I got shipped out. And I said, "Whoa, Bill, what? Okay, yeah, I'll meet you right there." And he said, "Let's go grab coffee. Let's go grab lunch." Or I mean, I'm sorry, breakfast. So I get in the car. You know, he drives. No talking. Just silence.
That's crazy.
Driving me to the nearest cafe. And he sits me down. He orders for me. Right. That's the type of gentleman he is. He is very straightforward. Very like
Yeah.
he's a man. He is. He's a beast, right? And he orders for me. I'm grubbing out because I just left the Marines, so I'm like, man, enjoying all this good food. And he's like, "Okay, Armando, well, congrats, man. I'm glad you're a Marine." And I'm like, "Well, dude," and I'm just chowing down, like, "Yes, bro, I love it. Like, yes, tell me, like," and they use me wrong. It feels good, right? But then he says something else that once again started that journey of Not the Beast. He says, "But what's next?" And I said, "Bill, what do you mean what's next?"
Give me a break.
Bro, like I just brought this in the Marine Corps. And so I told him, "No, like, what do you mean, Bill? Like, I just graduated, I did this, like, blah, blah. Like, what do you mean what's next? This is, I made it." And he's like, "Dude, no, you didn't. You just got started. This is the entry level. Like, what is it that you want to do? Like, be honest with me right now. Tell me what it is that you want to do with your life." And then I told him something that was very unorthodox back in 2016. I said, well, Bill, I want to do social media. I want to I want to do YouTube. I want to put myself out there and and he says, "Okay, well, what do we need?" "Well, I need a camera." He's like, "Okay, how much money do you have?" And I said, "Well, I got $3,000 in the bank because, that's what we made in the Marine Corps." And he's like, "Okay, we'll go buy a camera and when you're posting, you know, he said something that he was, "If you don't think I'm watching, I'm watching." And I said, "Okay, roger that." So that's when I started the journey of YouTube. That's, I bought the camera and then they shipped me out to Okinawa, Japan. That was my first duty station. And so from then on, I decided to put my entire life of my Marine Corps journey on social media, documenting it on YouTube. I was just showcasing my life and just what it was to be a 19-year-old Marine living overseas. And it caught wind very, very fast.
And I saw that not a lot of people were doing that back in the day, right? You were almost like the pioneer to be in the Marines, showcasing life in the Marines, right? Did you get any pushback? Any
100%. I got the most blows. I've definitely had to pave the way because I received a lot of oppression, a lot. I mean, there was points and moments where I mean, I could have lost everything because, once again, there are some things that you have to abide with whenever you're, and it was a very new thing for the Marine Corps. So, rather than them stripping me and kind of throwing me off to the side and removing my entire social media, they said, hey, how about we teach him, we train him, and we use him for a marketing asset, marketing tool.
wow.
And so they trained me. They gave me some courses. They taught me, and I kind of started to understand. Okay, this is how we should portray ourselves. As a Marine. Listen, people will look at all areas of your life, so you got to make sure you are representing the Marine Corps in the right manner online. And so after that, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of oppression. I definitely did take a lot of the blows. Now it's more common, it's more normal to see military personnel on social media, but back then it was so foreign. I yeah, I kind of definitely was in the gray area.
Did you ever get to a point where you wanted to just stop it all?
Yeah, absolutely. I got the amount of hate that I got. I don't think people understand the level of hate that I got because I was doing social media in the Marine Corps. And it was not necessarily like I understood why, right? I was a young kid. I had amassed a lot of followers, and I was living a really good life in the Marines. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't, God forbid. I mean, there's some really freaking hard chargers that did some really, gruesome stuff in the military that, you know, I feel like should have deserved the spotlight. But here I am, showcasing this life. And I understood why they were upset. I understood why. And I was kind of showing this rainbows and sunshines, but it wasn't. It wasn't. There was a lot of hard moments. And I think that maybe back then I should have maybe showed a little bit more of that reality side because I did highlight the good moments. And that social media, that's something we have to really understand is that social media is great, but you got to keep in mind it's highlights.
Yes.
It is highlights. And you have to understand that there's so much behind the scenes. Like right now, us doing this podcast,
Yeah.
little do people know that yesterday we drove 8 hours straight down here. We went through 3 different hotels trying to get a night's stay. I was upset. My baby was crying in their car. I was like just very upset. But people don't know that, right? They see this part right here.
Yes.
And yeah, so
Which I fully agree with, right? But sometimes I think about, you said social media is 100% highlights, and I agree. But do we carry the burden of letting people see the good, the bad, and ugly? And do we even have to let people see the ugly if we don't want to? Because I feel like at certain point, we as individuals hold ourselves accountable to what we can show the world. And the fact that maybe we're showing all the positive things doesn't mean that there's no negative side to things.
right.
And so, I mean, if someone wanted to show the negative sides of the Marines, they could have picked up a camera and done that.
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go through all of that, and what happens after?
Well, basically, the channel blossomed like never before. I'm talking, it grew hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions of views. I mean, I was at the pinnacle of social media back then. I mean, I had over 500,000 YouTube subscribers.
It's insane.
Which is a lot for, in that era, right? And I was traveling. The Marine Corps actually picked me up from Japan and said, hey, you're going to New York and you're going to start, really working with the Marines to do a lot of these events and be a part of the recruiting efforts. And so I took that role and it was amazing. I traveled, I did all these things and I was growing nonstop. And then 2019, I had basically met my wife, right? This is where there was a pinnacle moment once again. And, like I said, there was a lot of things that in my time, I look back and I'm like, man, I was a young kid. I did some really dumb stuff that I feel like, you know what, I could have done better. And I own up to a lot of those mistakes. But in 2019, the Marine Corps basically said, hey, listen, we want to keep you and we want you to continue to do what you're doing best because you are a rock star in the social media world, right? And we want you to keep doing the friggin', showing the Marine and this and that. But there was this one gentleman, all right? I know there's always this one gentleman, right?
Always.
There's always this one guy. So I walked into the staff sergeant's office because we were going to do the recruiting paper, the re-enlistment paperwork. And so as I step out, one of my colleagues looks at me and says, hey man, are you doing another 4? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I think I'm going to do another 4. And he's like, oh, dude, thank God, man. Because, dude, you would not have made it out there. And I was like, okay, well, then again, bro, as though I'm like, that fired me up again. It's like when people say like these things, like that I can't do it, I will do whatever it takes, even if I have to, if I have to die on that hill, I will make it happen. I don't know how, but that's my relentless inner drive. It's a part of me. I don't know, like it's just there, right?
How about this? You can't give me $1 million right now.
No, right, that's a good one. And it's once again, I in that moment, that guy really struck something in me, and I know he didn't mean it in a malice intent, but he was just like, hey, dude, like you wouldn't have made it in the civilian world because it's so hard to leave the military and come back to civilian world. It's very, very hard, and I have a lot of sympathy and a lot of prayers go out to a lot of service members because it's one of the hardest things that you will ever have to endure, I would say, on a mental aspect, because you're going from military life, military lingo, military buddies, military everything, camaraderie, brotherhood, and then you go to the quote unquote real world and there's nobody. You're alone. You're back at, you're no longer
Ground zero.
sergeant or colonel or staff sergeant. No, you are civilian Armando Nava. You totally forget your first name. So you're like, wait, my name's Armando?
Yeah.
So anyways, man, because of that, I got out, and obviously I had met my wife, and I was like, I really want to pursue this, my wife, and I want to make it work. But I knew if I stayed in the Marines, it wouldn't have happened because they would have sent me all across the world doing all these crazy things. So 2019, man, is really the moment where all hell broke loose. It was, yeah. But we can dive into that here in a bit if you'd like.
So when you say all hell broke loose, I want to know what happened.
Well, you go from being a social media sensation, being a Marine, wearing the uniform, going to all these events. You're receiving all this, I would say, glory, right? And you're at the top of the pinnacle. And when you get out, you have nothing. All of my amazing people that have followed me throughout the years, they couldn't relate with me anymore because I had gotten out of the uniform. And so it was kind of like they had turned against me. Like, why would you get out? Why would you do this to us? Like, you made the Marine Corps seem so great. Why are you getting out? Like, and so I received, a level of hate that I don't think any person could, like, man, there was a lot of, hate, a lot of people that were saying you are going to fail, you're going to lose, like, you're done, like, he's going to end up in a ditch. He's going to, like,
What?
it was, and even close buddies of mine would call me or they would send me anonymous texts and saying, dude, you messed up. You're done. You're over. It's over for you. Like, man, and I literally had to change my number and basically, like, I had to leave the world for 2 years. So I completely shut everything off for almost 2 years.
You let everything go.
Let everything go. I shut down everything. And I told my, at the time, I'm with my wife and I had no job. I had no career. I had no money. I told her, we're going to have to move in with my brother. And we're going to have to, live in the apartment in one of the rooms and I'm going to have to figure something out. And that's really where almost a year long of just brokenness happened. I mean, you're talking alcohol, partying, drinking, all smoking, everything you can think of. I mean, I was just going through it, like, and nobody saw this. I kept everything private, but my wife did. So my wife was really by my side during this just gruesome transition. Because like I said, you are remember, it's like you're going from 100 miles an hour to back to 0.
Yep.
And so I use all these ways to fill the void, to fill that, and I just constant trying to seek pleasure. And I gained weight. I didn't even look at like the way I did before. I was musty. It just did not look good. I was just broken, right? But thankfully, my wife, she would pray for me during the season, this really wretched season of my life.
Wow.
She prayed for me, and she wouldn't let go. Even countless of times, I would say, "You need to leave me. Like I'm gonna drag you down with me. Like get out of here. Like get out of my life." Like I would literally say these words: "Get out of my life. I don't want you here. I bought your tickets back to Florida. You need to leave."
Oh my God.
Because I was in a self-destruction mode. Like I'm pretty confident that
I didn't care anymore.
I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about life. I mean, there was a moment where I had like almost a whole bottle of Patron, and I was in the 3rd story of my brother's apartment, and I was contemplating to jump off. Like that's how bad it got. And so, but she said, "I'm not leaving you. I'm not. I believe in you. I don't know what you're gonna do, but I believe in you." And she just kept staying by my side through these. I would go partying, and I would tell her, "Hey, you need to wait near my house till I get back," and she would wait there. She would like, no, you couldn't
That's a
break
good woman.
you couldn't break her. She was like so like relentless.
Yeah.
And anyways, long story short, one day I come home, it's probably like around 1 a.m., right? And I had been drinking, and she's in the room, and the little lights on, right? And she has these stacks of letters. And so I walk in, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Oh, nothing, don't worry about it." And I said, "No, what are you doing? Let me see." And I grabbed one of the letters, and all I remember it saying is, "God, please help Armando because I need you and he needs you." And I remember crumbling it up, and I threw it across the room. I said, "You need to stop praying for me. You need that God of yours is not going to save me." I didn't believe in any of that. Like I didn't grow up in the faith. I didn't none of that. I thought the whole thing was a joke, right? So I crumbled it up. I threw it across the room. I said, "Stop praying for me. That's God's not going to come save us. Okay, I'm going to get us out of this mess." And so she did the most beautiful thing that, my wife, like to this day, I remember. She gets up, she doesn't say a word. She looks at me, she gives me a little smile, and she grabs a paper, picks it up, unravels it, and she keeps writing. And and then from then on, that really penetrated my heart. And I decided to look at the scriptures. I started, you know what? Okay, I have nothing to lose. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I read the scriptures. And then, yeah, that's
Man, that touched me so much. You have no idea. Because that's the power of a good woman. That's a Ruth kind of woman, right?
amen.
You know, just pushing, praying for you, being there for you. You don't find those. It's not easy to find those these days, unfortunately. You hit the jackpot, man.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah,
It was the good Lord, man.
that's awesome. So, talk to me about kind of coming to find God, right? Because I feel like this is, you had your wife who was probably a believer,
Yes.
who was a believer, you weren't a believer. How did that transition come about of you realizing that you needed to change your ways, you needed to move from where you're at into a whole new life?
Because really there was a light that my wife radiated that I craved. There was a sense of peace and a sense of she just wasn't worried. And I was constantly living in this anxiety, worried state, self destruction. And she just had this peace and this glow. And if anything, I was jealous of it. I wanted that glow. I wanted that light. And so I read the scriptures, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and I really sat down and I'm like, this can't be real. Like, there's a Father in heaven that loves me, and there's no catch 22. What do I have to do? Do I have to, like, because I'm a military mindset is like, you're kind of like, okay, what are the objectives? How do I earn this love? Like, do I have to,
Do something.
run a couple miles to push it? But it was like, no, for God so loved the world, he sent his only begotten son, and all those that believe in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And so I remember it was probably like late at night, and I just got done reading all the scriptures, and I'm like, okay, Lord, if you are real, if you say you are who you are, and change my life, change my heart, change everything, and I will dedicate my entire being, my essence to you. Like in whatever places you put me in, your name will be exalted and not my name. You know, and it's like when the Bible says, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, and in due time he will exalt you.
Yes.
In that moment, I just surrendered. I surrendered everything. And I said, I'm done doing it my way. And there was that next morning, I remember I woke up early. I made my wife breakfast. She was kind of shocked. Like, what are you doing? Like, there was just this different, that's when I truly came to know Christ, right? I changed my ways. And then on, I got my real estate license and got into real estate. And then the journey began of real estate agency.
Wow. So and I think that's a very important story to tell, right? Because a lot of people feel stuck in certain areas and they feel like they're like that's the end for them, right? But it shows you that we serve a God that will always open arms, right? And then, come back to me. No matter where, no matter how low you are, you can always find God, right? And so that to me, that is literally the prodigal son story, right? We all go through that every single time in our life. Once in a while, we kind of go a little bit lower than we should.
Right.
But God always reminds us that He's there. For
Mhm.
we don't have to do anything to earn that love. That love is there for us. So that's super inspiring, man, and I appreciate you for sharing that. I want to go into real estate, right? Right now, you are one of the, I mean, most respected people in real estate, and I think you combine a little bit of faith, business, and everything that you do. Talk to me a little bit about going from being in real estate and why you decided to really integrate faith into your business.
Because to me, Christ changed my life so much that I did not want to put him in the backseat and hide my faith in the business that I was conducting. Once again, when I got my license and I started to put my faith out there, I remember going back to social media,
Yeah.
incorporating faith into my real estate property tours. There was a lot of, once again, oppression.
Yeah.
It's always, before you can get to the promised land, you're going to have to go through the wilderness. That's the testing ground.
Yep.
And there was a lot of tests that came my way, a lot of emails, calls from other fellow agents and other people like, hey, listen, you're going to ruin your business. You're like, what you're doing is not, you don't want to spread your faith and do this business. You're going to fail. Like, yeah, dude. And I got calls like, hey, you're freaking people out talking about Jesus and doing, like, be professional. Like, that's what they would say. You need to be professional. And I honestly, I took that as a sign of like, no, I'm going to go harder because I love Christ so much. He is a big part of my life that
Yeah.
I refuse to bow down to Baal. I refuse to bow down to the worldly systems. I will proclaim his name till the end of my life because he changed me so much that, like, it's like when you love your father so much, you can't stop talking about him.
Yep.
And that's, I see that with my daughter now. Like, I can't, I can only imagine because I love that girl so much.
Yeah.
Like, even though she's crying, she's all, spit everywhere. She's like super dirty. Maybe she went to the restroom and
No matter
no
what.
matter what, I still love her. And when I see her face, even though I'm stressed out, it just, this glow. And I can't wait to, when she's older, she tells people about her daddy. Langdon says, my dad is my favorite
Yep.
person. And that's the level of love I have for God.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not the most perfect, I fall short
Yes.
day in and day out. I ask for the Lord's forgiveness and, repentance and everything. But I knew that I would never put him in the back seat. I combined the two, right? In 2021, I started Nava Realty Group, and that's a whole story in itself. But we posted, we started doing that on social media, on Instagram. We started posting scriptures on our actual video house tours.
Wow.
I started to tell people on YouTube, like, hey, stay tuned towards the end for the good news. By far the greatest part of the videos is towards the end for the good news. And people would be like, whoa, what's this good news about? Is it a coupon? Or did I get all my closing content? And no, it was John 3:16. And God literally tripled the growth, what I had before, restored it in 3 years. Triple the amount of audience. because I was faithful. I surrendered and I did not bow down to, the golden calf,
Yep.
so yeah.
So it's like you built everything, and I think intentionally burnt it down, and God was like, I will restore what was burned down.
I would say that it was the old man that was crucified on that cross, right? There was that old version of me that he had to let die off in order for this new person to be reborn. That's how, as believers, when we come to Christ, that's what happens. We leave the former things and we come to the new life in Christ, right? And so that's what he did. He stripped away all that gunk, right? A lot of things that I learned, don't get me wrong, that I apply now, but in a more godly, cleaner way of doing things, right? So yeah,
So then what led you into starting your brokerage? Because, I'm sure you started off as an agent,
yeah.
and then, going into starting a brokerage. I know that's not easy.
Well,
What was that journey like?
2021 to 2024, my wife and I together collectively, husband and wife team, we sold over $150 million in real estate.
Wow.
So that's a lot of real estate. That is a lot of transactions for a single, double, married couple agents to do. And these were all from social media. All my clients, I was closing 60 houses, almost 70 houses. I was nonstop in the grind. I was calling people left to right, boom, 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 making connections, making these house sales in Dallas. And it got so, like I said, very successful, very, very successful. God was blessing us beyond measure to the point where we were like, man, our cups are overflowing. And there was a lot of things that happened within those years that, we made mistakes, we fell short. God, put us right back on the path, because that's what happens in life. You will sometimes take twists and turns, but God will never leave you. He'll never forsake you, is what the Bible says.
Yep.
And so, 2024, I finally decided to get my broker's license. That was a whole nother, journey of its own. And it's funny because once again, the agents would tell me like, dude, just be an agent. Like, you don't want to be
Stick to that.
just don't get your broker's license. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, because you said that, now I have to go get it. So I went to I took the test. It was
All your life, you've been dared and dared and dared.
dude, yeah. And so 2024, I started the brokerage, and it's still very boutique style. It's just my wife and I, and we're actually, the brokerage wasn't really intended to start a massive brokerage. That's not our goal. Our goal is, well, now we're in development, because I built so many homes with other developers and builders that I learned a lot of the things that they were really doing wrong, how clients were treated, how my personal clients were treated, and the quality. I just was like, I need to make a change here. And so 2024 and 2025 is when we started our own development company, Nava Homes.
Yeah.
And so now we're combining our brokerage to represent our homes. So it's kind of really cool how it all comes together.
So it seems like within those 3 years that when you started and kind of took off, God blessed you a lot, right?
Right.
And you received so much. You were able to build so many connections, grow your brokerage, grow your firm, grow your business. I think real estate is a business, right?
Right.
Grow your business tremendously. If you were to give an advice to someone who was just starting off, like, what would you tell them?
You need to humble yourselves, and you need to do the dirty work for at least 4 years before you start something great. You need to be in the
Trenches.
in the trenches. You have to be, because people want to be where we're at today, but it's like they don't see the last 7 years of what we went through. And so I would say you need to buckle up, you need to stay focused, and embrace the suck.
Yeah.
And then eventually God will exalt you. I truly believe, like, in due time, he will exalt you, and you will know, because I remember questioning God in 2022, 2023, 2024, like, Lord, when is my moment coming? Like, I've been so faithful. I've been, and I've been in the trenches. It's like, when is my time? And it's crazy because he had been orchestrating all this behind the scenes that till now I understand why, because I wasn't ready for that. I couldn't handle that level of stress and now in the development world, and then at the same time, within those years, I was able to save up so much income that getting into development, we're debt free. We don't have to worry about constant like we're in debt or anything like that. No, we're actually using our own funds that we've accumulated these last years, and now we're doing our own developments.
That's a blessing.
And that was a surreal moment that I'm like, wow, Lord, like now I understand why it took so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So throughout that journey, throughout those blessings that you received, right? You grow your social media tremendously. I mean, you have an audience, millions of people that follow you, millions of people that see your content, right? And as someone in social media, I 100% respect it because you've been able to build a solid foundation of really a good audience that, people love your content, people look forward to it, all of that, right? What is the secret sauce, Armando? How do you make that happen? I know it's teamwork with you and your wife, but how do you all make it happen?
Well, truthfully, every piece of content, like we have 1.5 on our main Instagram, Nava Realty Group, almost 1 million on our other page, Nava Family TX, YouTube, hundreds of thousands, TikTok, same thing. We did all that content ourselves. There is no extra people no, it was all us getting in our cars, driving, making connections, knocking on doors. And I would say the biggest piece of advice that is when you become the content creator, like you actually become the content creator, you're deadly. You are a deadly force because you can make content out of anything. And that's the thing that people are trying to run away from. They want to outsource everything. And it's like, no, you need to become it.
You are the brand.
You are the brand. You are the niche. And so like when we understood that, we were just like, we need to show, yes, real estate, but also all other areas of our life. And that's when everything started clicking. When we were just unapologetically us in who we are. We love Jesus. We will proclaim his name. We like fitness. We like good food. We like good podcasts. I mean, we were just authentically us and just letting go of whatever people say. Because here's the reality of it. 50% of people won't like you and 50% of people will like you.
Yeah.
You might as well focus on the 50% that do like you and keep pouring into that versus the 50% that don't like you, because they're not going to like you and not everybody's going to like you. People need to understand that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And that's okay because that's how God I mean, everyone has a certain area, a certain arena. And, so I would say it boils down to putting in the work day in and day out and becoming the content creator.
A lot of people struggle with just content creation because they feel that fear of people not liking them, the fear of what if I say something that is wrong or I say something that people might not like, and I get all this backlash. You talk about the 50% of people who like you and the 50% of people who don't like you. How do you go about just mentally turning them away and focusing on the 50% that really want to be there? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest struggles for a lot of people, if we're being very, very real.
Reps. The more reps you do, the more you gain the momentum and the more you build up the muscles in order to persevere against that force that is trying to pull you back. And so you grow, really, I would say, numb to the pain. Because, one thing in the Marine Corps they always told us was pain is weakness leaving the body. So the more pain that you endure, the more that you put yourself out there, the more reps, the more you grow, and the more unapologetically you become. So it all boils down to reps.
Yeah.
You're gonna get backlash in the beginning. You're gonna get a lot of turmoil. You're gonna get comments. You're gonna get people. I mean, to this day, we still get a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
But guess what? Now we know who we are in Christ. We know who we are as people, that they bounce off, because we're just so confident in who we are.
So then if someone wanted to build a brand from scratch, what would be your top advice for them?
I would say post every single day for the next year. Every single day. One post a day. Every single day for 365 days. And watch your company, your brand grow. The problem is that people will post one piece of content and then they'll stop for a week. They'll come back again. Hey guys, I'm back again. It's like, well, dude, where have you been? Like 1 week in social media is like 2 years. Like you need to be showing up every single day because here's the reality of it. it is a battlefield. It is everyone is out to try to win. You're not going to outwork us. I'm sorry, you're not going to outwork us because we want it that bad. So the question is, it's like, you got to ask yourself, do I really want it that bad? Or am I just here to play games? Like, no, like we're here to want it bad.
To win.
To win. We're here to win. I mean, this in Marine Corps, that's, we lock in on a mission, we're going all in, we're destroying the enemy. There is no plan B or plan C. No, we're going all in. And that's when people need to just, I would say, need to switch that flip that switch and say, you know what, do I really want this? And if not, then that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But for us, we're just those type of people that we want it.
Incredible.
Mhm.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And that's such good advice. It's such practical advice. And I hear it a lot. Just making sure you're consistent, that consistency every single day. So now it's a challenge for me as well, right? I need to make sure I'm posting every single day for 365 days. And I think it's something that works if we're being honest. Um, talk a little bit about the development you're doing now, because I know you're very, very passionate about it. Every single time we've talked, it's something that you beam with pride. I know how much you love the RGV, and you're doing something for the RGV. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I have built hundreds of homes for families in Dallas, and I've worked with some of the most renowned, award-winning developers, designers, multi-million-dollar properties. And there was a lot of little components that were missing in that process. A lot of little things that could have made the experience a lot better. Different styles, different elevations. And so really 2024, like I just felt like the Lord was calling us, hey, listen, I want you to build up the home that you were raised in. I want you to bring what you've learned these past years back to your hometown, because I really feel like the RGB needs it. There's so many things that we have yet to improve on that I've learned from Dallas, from Houston, from all these big cities. I mean, from New York. I used to live in New York. I've learned so much that it's like, man, we can really make the RGB a great area if we all come together. And so our developments are really a reflection, I would say, of all the years of experience, and truthfully, the things that people actually want in their homes. I was just, if I'm going to be honest with you, I was just pissed off of the garbage products that are being put out into the local marketplace here. And they're just like the homes, they're just not like, people would walk into these homes and they would just be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'll buy this house, and they're signing off on this, $300,000 or $400,000, $500,000 house, and they're not even happy with it. And so I'm like, man, how can we change this? How can we put stuff in these homes that will make, like, the first thing I want people to do when they walk into our homes, which they have been,
Yeah.
is wow, this, I feel like I'm getting a deal. Like, that's how I want them to feel, is like, I am getting the best deal of my life. Value. And yes, we want that, because here's the reality of it. First of all, our name is attached to that. But most importantly, Christ's name is attached to that. We are representatives of Christ. And if we put out a garbage product, what does that say about us and, our King?
Yep.
Right? And so we want our clientele to walk into our products, our Nava homes, and be wowed. And honestly, be able to pass this piece of real estate from generation to generation, knowing that the product itself will stand the test of time. That in 5-10 years, if they want to resell, they want to rent it out, it's still like, it looks beautiful. I mean, our houses, when you walk in, we do 18-foot ceilings. We do windows all throughout. So it brings a lot of gorgeous natural lighting. We do very custom, beautiful, modern elevations that are like 2025, not 1990s, not early 2000s, not the same old what everyone. No, we are bringing a new concept that, once again, I feel like we just need in the RGB, and I'm here for the growth. I'm here to see it blossom. I want to be a part of that growth. And yeah, so.
Awesome. And living here for the past couple of years, I'm actually going on 10 years. I think it's really cool to see different perspective, different ideas coming into the valley, quality stuff, and something you talk about. And I hear from a lot of people is that there's a lack of quality here.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for always, for coming back and for wanting to really give back to the valley. I don't want to, I feel like we can go on and on and on. However, I know family is very important to you, Armando. How has having a newborn shaped you in business?
Having a daughter has made me understand the love that God has for us. Truthfully, having that just wavering love for my daughter has really made me understand, why God loves us so much. And truthfully, everything that I do now is for her and for her generations to come. And so having her in our lives has made the mission even bigger, has made it more purposeful. And honestly, it was the missing component in my wife and I's life that we just needed to rev it up another 10x. Because now we're like, okay, this little girl, she's relying on us. She's looking at her dad and her mom.
Yeah.
And we want to set her up the right way. That, unfortunately, like I said, our parents did the best that they could. But in the Bible, it says that a good man leaves an inheritance, for the children's children, right? And that's the legacy we want to bring. I want our children's children, our great, great, great grandkids, when they look back, they're like, who started this? How did this all begin? Why are we living like this? Oh, it's because great, great grandpa and grandma, they built the company up and now we're running it. And that's the level that we're not even looking at our lifetime anymore. We're looking at her generations to come.
Yeah.
And so she's really made us see that and also just be selfless.
Yeah.
Selfless, be patient, be understanding. We have more patience for people now. Because a lot of it is childhood trauma that you start to really understand, okay, maybe I'm sure mom and dad weren't there or something happened in life and I understand why you're being like this. And so you just have more patience, you have more love, and you just, yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible, and it's really cool to see how much you love your daughter. We were just in here, and then you were like, "Let me just go out and go."
Little, it's funny because like during the road when we were driving over here, I was like, we stopped like maybe every 2 hours, and I'm like, sweetie, bring her over here. So she's like my little charger. I'm like, I give her a little kiss, and I'm like, oh, you're so beautiful.
That's
And then,
incredible.
and I'm okay, I'm good. I can go pray. Like she's my little
That's good.
like little
That's good.
charger. Yeah.
And I think those are, I'm glad we're having these conversations because a lot of men need to realize that it's important to be there, right? Be there for your kids, be there for your wife. And I think one of the reasons why I really respect you is that you do that and you do it very well. So definitely, appreciate you for that. All right. I know we've gone on and on and on. The conversation has been great. We're gonna need a part two for this. But Armando, I have a final question for you, right? What does the future look like for you? For you personally, what is a major goal for you, and what do you really, really, what are you praying for right now?
Well, right now on my vision board, and we're gonna keep this on record.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be the #1 builder here in the RGB.
Just do it.
That's #1. From there, Texas. From there, the nation. That's the goal for the next 30, 20 years. And then if we can blossom into other avenues from, hotels, whatever it may be, like we just want to give the best service that people deserve.
Yep.
Um, we want to be the Ritz-Carlton of home building. We want to be the the breakers of home building. We want to provide these quality products for families and bring that personal aspect back into it that I believe is lacking. So
Wow. You know what? I'm not even going to be one of those folks who would tell you can't do it, or maybe I should do that so that you end up doing it, right? But that's a phenomenal goal. I can 100% see that happening. And locally here in the Valley, we'll be rooting for you. Everyone at Brand Genius, everyone at Haven, we'll be 100% rooting for you because we know you can do it, right? Um, we won't be those people who will tell you can't do it. Maybe they'll be out there, but
they already are.
yeah,
We already have them. So it's all good.
that's great. That's enough. Armando, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for taking out of time out of your busy day. I know you're going to go have a meeting right after here, which you're probably late for, but you have no idea how much grateful I am because these are the conversations that really inspire me, right? I believe I started this podcast because I wanted to learn from people. right? I wanted to learn from people like you. I want to be a father as well, right? And so having people like you that I can learn from, that I can listen to, I think is very inspirational. And I think a lot more people will find it very inspirational as well. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here at Mind of a Genius. God bless you. I appreciate it. Guys, this has been this has been a masterclass, in my opinion. Um, I I strongly believe that we're going to have another one of these, Armando, which we will be talking strictly about social media and how to grow on social media. I think this conversation really, really stemmed from just my desire to try to know Armando a little bit more, to learn from him. And so I hope you had the opportunity to learn from him as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying all the way. If you stayed all the way to the end, and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Armando. I really appreciate it, man.